Alright, so right now we're gonna work on the electrical. We have a lighting switch here. It's a switch light going up. Goes across, it's this one right here. And it comes into the box. So it's turning it on and off. We're gonna be replacing this with the GFCI outlet. We'll actually bring it down a little bit lower, so we'll add some block in here. This outlet controls the furnace on the inside, on the other side of the wall. This outlet right here picks up the bathroom outlet above the vanity. And then this is the incoming hot. So we have that downstream, picks up that outlet and the other outlet. One for the vanity light, the middle one, whatever the configuration will be. But let's just say the middle one would be for the recessed lights, and then the last one would be for the fan. So, yeah, and then we'll pick up a new GFCI outlet there, and then a new vanity light there. But yeah, so right now we're doing some demo, just getting out all the old wire. Here's a little tip of the trade. When you're wanting to remove these staples, I get my diagonal cutters, my dikes. This ones you can see. Cut a wire right there. Thought it was live, or dead, but it was still live. So just be careful out there. But what you do is you want to lay them with the flat side up against the 2x4, like that. You pinch it, and then with pressure pushing like that, hold on to the staple. And just like that, you pull off the staple. And that works in really tight corners. Right here it's accessible, but there's times where I'm in an attic and I'm just having to remove staples just because they're in my way. Alright guys, so right here I have my new box installed for the existing shower. I ran a switch leg and a power to that box. That one was wired up differently. I'll explain that later in the video. What I did is I mimicked the same thing on the other side. As you can see right there, I have one labeled switch and one power. That's wired wrong, so you'll see later in the video how I caught it. So here, this is where we terminated everything. This junction box is accessible up in the attic. So we have 3 new Romexes coming in, 14.2. One of them powers the vanity light, the other one powers this one, and the last one is running to the box to feed all the switch legs. This is the incoming power, this one, and then these 2 existing ones are downstream. These are feeding a light in the hallway, and this one's feeding another light in a hallway in the main entrance. So what we're doing here is, I already have, I'll get these out of the way. But as you can see, we have the bonding screw for the ground that's tied into all the grounds. Right now we're gonna do all our neutrals and then all of our blacks, which is the hot. Close this up, and then we'll have power coming down to our new round boxes and our adjustable 3-gain. Alright, so that's all finished. We have our ground, neutrals, and power all connected. Nice and clean. Just gotta put the cover plate and then label it. This is a quick little time lapse of me wiring up the box. I'm just getting all the wires labeled and tucked inside. This is how we clean up the boxes. We have obviously our switch leg coming in. I write down on the labels like this. For instance, this one says vanity switch, so I know this line is actually this one right here. So when I write it down on the Romex cable on the sheeting, I use that same piece to help me label them. And just push those in. That's our power. I capped off the power. It's out of the way for when we do our drywall. Then I can come in and I'm able to identify which ones are my switch legs and power. That's that. Box is finished up. 15 amp lighting. Nice and clean, accessible in the attic. And then I'll just wire up all those. I'll set a time lapse up on how I clean that up. Alright, so we're gonna get all of these wires terminated and put where they need to be. Right here we have our power, that one's labeled. The second one coming in is the recessed lights. Then we got the vanity light, and then the exhaust fan at the end. So first, we're just gonna get all of our neutrals and our powers out of the way. We're gonna work on our ground. Okay, now that we have all our grounds, okay, so we have 3 grounds. With these, we're going to push everything into the corner. Nice and clean. Six inches is what you want out coming from the box. It's enough wire for you to connect, whether you're putting outlets or switches. So now that we have all of our, these are basically pigtails. Now, these are gonna be our 3 pigtails that we're basically gonna put into or attach to our switches. So now, just get this tucked up in there, nice and tight. Our longer one will go to the right, and we have center and middle. Now each switch has a ground. See, they're all connected back there. We got one for this will be the vanity light, this will be the recessed lights, and this will be the exhaust fan. Because we don't have to pigtail, this is a lighting circuit, so these are a little bit different. We're actually gonna pigtail off of our power coming in, get 3 wires. These will be our switch legs. So in this case, for the neutrals, we connect all of them together, tuck them in the back. Tucked in back there. There's the neutrals tucked up. So this right here is our light. I don't spell it right, but I know that's my light. Vanity switch leg and the fan. This one right here is our power. So we're gonna pigtail 3 off of this. These will all stay like that. Those will get put onto the switches. So we just need to do the power one last, and then yeah. But that's basically it. As you can see, we have our power pigtailed. Our grounds are all connected with pigtails, and then the neutrals all get connected and left like that. And then basically all we do is we go switch leg, like for instance this vanity switch leg would go with the power, and so on and so forth for the lights and the fan. So that's it. But yeah, that's how you wire up this is a 3-gang box. So nice and clean. Alright guys, so I was trying to install this light in the morning, and I'll explain exactly what happened. But basically here in the box, everything here was connected fine. All my neutrals were landed. I pigtailed off my power coming in, which is this one, and I pigtailed 3 powers so that I can pick up each switch. And then each this wire right here is for the recess lights. See, it gets dark. This middle one is for the vanity light, and then this last one right here is for the fan. So you could see it's on right there now. It's on. Okay, so basically this is what happened yesterday. I don't know why, but I was just working really fast. Over here it's a different setup. It's power coming in and the neutral is out on the switch. There's no neutral going to the box, or there's no power going to the box like how this is. So the way I wire them is I have my power and my switch leg in the box. That way I run just a single wire to the box. So it's the same setup, it's just this is wired in here with the power, and then the single wires in the box. So yesterday, I look at that one and I'm just working fast, don't pay much attention. Basically what I did was I ran a power coming in, which is this one. This one right here. This power is running into the box, and then I also ran my switch leg. It's a 14-2, but it's basically my switch leg, another wire. So in the morning I came in because I wanted to get some light, and I connected my neutrals and I ran my this was my power and this was my switch leg, and then there's my ground. Thought I lost a neutral, so I did my ohms test. I connected these 2 neutrals, went over there, picked up those 2, and no, they worked. There was no cut in the line, so you could tell. There it says ohms. When you touch your 2 leads, let's see if I can record that. When you touch your 2 leads, you'll get that sound. You'll get a tone. So that's how you can troubleshoot to see if your wire is broken or got cut or whatever during install. You just connect the 2 wires that you know, connect those 2 with wire nuts, and then you come over here. You don't connect them, but you just have them split, and then you touch each lead and it'll create a full circuit. If you hear that tone, you know there's no break in the line. If you don't hear a tone, one of 2 things: 1, there's a break, or 2, you didn't get the right wires. But I did all that, everything was fine. But the corporate was basically this. I ran in a power and my switch leg. I connected it here like a switch, like how I would connect it at a box, and then I did the same thing over there. So it was just basically countering itself the whole time. But now that simple issue is fixed, our light works. It's got a switch leg. The recess lights are already on, those work, and the exhaust fan as well. Alright guys, so right here we have on this side of the wall is a furnace, and I needed a new outlet, so we put this. These boxes are, that's a single gang, this is a double gang. They're adjustable depth boxes. The way these work is, you can see it's attached. There's a screw right there. The bracket is mounted. Depending on the surface here, so we put these in kitchens and bathrooms. Technically you can put them in everywhere, but they're pretty expensive. So the reason why we put them here is we don't know how thick the backsplash is going to be with drywall and different materials. So you'll see how it's like now quarter inch. You can bring it all the way out to about, I think the max is 2.5 inches. So we put one on that one, But this one is more of a custom case. So as you can see, I cut off this part right here. I cut all this off. Actually, right there. So reason why I did that is so I can just use this bracket. This bracket, the screw will go into there, and that lets me adjust my depth. Usually it gets hooked onto the stud, but because there's finished drywall on this side of the bathroom and then there's a medicine cabinet, this was the best way I can make that. So I put in a little block piece of wood to get flush to the existing hole. This is the existing hole that was there. I've just cleaned it up a bit so the new box can fit. They're a little bit bigger. So we'll take you guys to the other side. In here, now that you can see the old cover. This is it right here. This new box will slide in there. It'll get put onto the bracket like that. So now I can screw that there. Now you see, now it's flush with the drywall all around. This gap right here is because I needed to push the box more that way. But the cover plate will cover all this. So that's just a remodel little tip to not damage any of the existing drywall here. Obviously when this bathroom gets redone, that can just get removed. We can put a new one with the bracket onto the stud, or move it left, right, up, down, whatever the case is. But in this case, since we're not doing any patchwork here in this bathroom, that was the cleanest way I can get that done. We'll wipe this off with the wipey, it's just dust. And we'll put in a new GFCI outlet with a new cover. So yeah. Alright, so we have I cut the sheathing already. You got a 20 amp tamper resistant GFCI. Now, oh well, usually they come with a sticker. This one didn't. Usually there's a yellow sticker here on the back. This is your load, this is your line. Your line is the hot coming in, your load is anything downstream. So in this case, our outlet over there, we'll be sending this as the load, but this one will be our line. We don't have any wires getting protected after this. So we're gonna connect to the line side. The load side, we'll just close these off a little bit, clean them up, and install that. It's very hard to see, but the bottom says load and the top says line. So these ones, we don't have to do a pigtail or a loop. They're just, we strip them about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, stick them in there and screw them on. So always start with your ground first. And with these, I like to use a flathead. You get more leverage on these. You can also use a square drive, but I use a flathead. So get that installed right there. Get those nice and tight. I use these ones, the Levinson. These are flexible, they're unbreakable. You're able to like really bend these around. So we'll just mark that up. A little trick I do is in the ground prong, I stick in my finish trim screwdriver. It's a flathead. Get it in there. You're able to bend the outlet straight. Sometimes as you're installing them, they go a little crooked. But like where that is, get my flathead, screw that. I'll fix it a little bit more. And then you always want to have your screws going vertical. At least that's what I've been told. I guess it doesn't collect dust. If they're horizontal like this, dust collects in them. This at least lets them go down. And that's how true that is. So, back that out a little bit. Stick that in. Bend that. There we go. And a GFCI protected outlet there. Tamper resistant, so you can't, no kids can stick like little knives and forks in there. But yeah, that's basically it. Alright, so these are the two junction boxes we added in the attic. This is for the 15 amp breaker controlling the lighting. So these two 14.2 coming in, new ones, are power being fed to one bedroom, and another one is being fed to our box. And then this is the power coming in from the breaker, the home run, and then these two were feeding another bedroom. So the 14.2 is completed on a 15 amp circuit. 20 amp, we have the power coming in or coming out, feeds the receptacle there. From there we took power to the furnace and then all the way across, and we picked up the bathroom GFCI. This is the home run coming in from the panel, and then this other wire, can't see, but there's another wire back there that picks up the bedroom, one of the bedroom outlets. So everything is junction there, accessible in the attic and labeled. That's how those look. Alright, so that's the end of this video in this series. We wrapped up all the electrical for the bathroom. We have all the lights and outlets put in. Right here I'm just showing the exhaust fan. There was a bit of a hiccup with the lighting. A quick little fix, something not too hard. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.